Hi, in this video I'll be going through a tutorial I found on Microsoft Learn that is building a chat app using Azure AI Foundry SDK and AI Search. The tutorials that I went through that I want to give my insights and kind of give and supplement these tutorials with my high-level overview and is this one right here, setting up a project and dev environment for a custom reg app, and also part 2, right, which continues on, building on that, completing the solution, right? So you can find it right here. You can go through it step by step. I'm just giving you my high-level overview and my insights. So here I drew up a diagram, which is my interpretation of that tutorial solution here. So what I end up building out for that is, an Azure AI Foundry. Okay, you first create a project and a hub, and the hub has some centrally managed configuration and settings such as users, models and endpoints, compute and connected resources. Okay, and those gets connected to these Azure resources and become inherited to the project. You can have one or more. Okay, so when you create Azure AI Foundry, by default it creates a blob storage, shared, and a key vault. I'm not really using these in the tutorial, but I just want to highlight that they have been deployed, and each container in the blob storage are project specific. Next, you have AI services that's connected, and those AI services provide Azure Open AI, text-to-speech, vision, language, etc. But for this, I'm just highlighting here just the Azure Open AI and the model deployments, such as GPT-4o Mini and text embedding Ada 002. Also, apart from Azure AI Foundry, I created Azure AI Search, and that gets as a connected resource, which then gets inherited for use for its projects. So next, we have the application or the scripts themselves. So for myself, I'm running them in my Windows subsystem for Linux using Windows 10 PC. In the tutorial, you have to copy all these files. For starters, you have to set up the environment file, which has the Azure AI project connection string that you can find in AI Foundry, and then you have AI search index name, and then the various models that will eventually be used. For me, I just wanted to use 4o Mini just because it's faster response time and it's cheaper. Next, we have config.py, which is just using helper functions, loading the environment variables, and then an asset path to point to data assets. So these get centrally used across the Python scripts right here. The product CSV, I just want to highlight this one, especially the schema, which is composed of ID, name, price, category, brand, and description. So this file will be used to upload that into the search index. And then we have these prompt templates that are used by get products, Python script, and chat with products. Create search index.py is just a one-time setup execution, which just creates it through Azure AI Search and uploads the products.csv. Next is get product documents.python. I see this as a kind of a middle layer, or data access layer to just the Azure AI Search, which leverages the text embeddings model. So it will we'll get the query, and use a prompt template to transform that query to be a bit more appropriate for searching against this index. And then we have chat with products, which is more the user kind of front end. It's a command line script. So the chat with products takes the grounded chat prompt template to ground it further, add some system messages, and passes the query to the get products, which then will call the search index. Of course, chat with products will, once it gets the response from the search index, it will call the chat model and will return an augmented response to the end user. So chatwithproducts.py will use the grounded chat prompt template, given a user query, call getproducts.python, right, which will then call the search index, and that will return document search results, which then put into the prompt as part of the system message, and the query will look through those results and come up with an appropriate response to the original query. And I'll show all this more in detail. So let me turn to the Azure portal. In the Azure portal, we have an Azure AI project right here. And get at the settings, we have to launch the Azure AI Foundry kind of interface or studio. So here we're get an overview of the projects, and we can see the model catalog that we can deploy, the chat playgrounds, other AI services, etc. So the key things for this tutorial that we care about is go to the overview, and we have the project details. So we need to copy this connection string and put that into the environment variable. And because I'm using Azure Intra ID kind of login with my user account, just by running the AZ login command in my terminal, I don't really need this API key in my code. So if we go to the models and endpoints at this project, I have these models already deployed. So GPT-4o mini, text embedding. Okay, this is for the search index. Oh, okay, I should show you the connected resources. Okay, so right now I'm in the management center, okay, at the project level. So I have these projects, and this is the hub level setting. But if we go to connected resources, we have here my AI search connection right here. So I click edit. After I create the AI search resource, you can go here, create new connection, and then you can just select the resource. Also, here's the AI services that was in my diagram, and again, that's being connected, right? And that will provide Azure Open AI. And I can, deploy these models and have them for use. Okay, next, here's my AI search. We have, all these settings such as indexers, but I'll get to this in a moment. Okay, so let me turn to the code. I'm not going to go through it in great detail because the tutorial talks more of the detail and all the functions and all that, but I'm just going to give you, again, a high level overview of kind of what the purpose of each file and some key considerations. So the tutorial starts off with creating a Python virtual environment, right? So you create that. That's pretty standard step. the key thing here is that we want to have the Azure SDK Python packages, right, that we want to import, right? So it's mostly composed of Azure AI projects, Azure AI inference, so that you can establish the client object for access to those resources and services, right? We have the standard Azure Identity package for search. We have Azure Search Documents, and then these other standard packages as well, right? So OpenTelemetry API is for tracing, but we won't be talking about that in this video. We established that you run your pip install, right, to install those packages. Okay, so I've already done that. It looks like that. Of course, we need to set up our environment variables, so we need to get that project connection string, and that's all we need. We don't need to get at the individual endpoints of the AI Search or Azure Open AI. Here in Azure Foundry Management Center, we go to the project, go to the project details, and copy the project connection string. Bring that over into the environment variable file. Next, we have that config Python file. And again, it's just to have reusable code for logging telemetry, defining the asset path right here. So we have here /assets, okay? And then, of course, loading the environment variables. And here's the asset folder. The main thing I want to point out is really the product CSV, and that has all the description, right? So let's see here. If we look at that, pay attention to this one right here, the tense. It mentions it has that it can work with 4 occupants. It can support 4 occupants. And then there's other tent products as well in terms of people. This tent is for 2 people. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we do the query. And back to the assets, we'll look into here is the prompt templates. Okay, and this one right here, I'll go through that in a moment. Next, we have the create search index. Okay, again, it creates a client library for the Azure AI services, takes a connection string. If we start from the bottom here, right, again, it takes on the index name, okay, which by default is from the environment variable, AI search index name, and the CSV file. And really, at high level, all it does is, well, it looks for the index. If it already exists, delete it and just recreate it, okay? By doing so, it will first create the definition, okay? And what's important here is to know that, these are the actual fields, ID, content, file path, title, URL, and this one's particularly important, which is the content vector, right? And that's the embeddings field, so the numerical representation. The search profile is the algorithm that will match against this field. Okay, and in particular, we'll just be using the text embedding ADA 2 model. Here's the definition of the vector search algorithm. After that index is created, then we upload the files. Okay, so here you're mapping from that CSV. All right, so the ID column, the content, and the content vector is taking the embedding, so it accesses the large language model, gets the numerical, the vector representation of basically this content field. I'll show you how that looks like in shortly. So that is really the process of creating a search index and uploading. Back to the AI search, we have the index. Okay, so allow me to run the create search index script right here. Get that run. It gets so uploaded 20 documents, right? So it's basically 20 of these rows. Okay, so back to the AI search, we click on indexes and we have that index that was created. So drilling into this, we can see the fields that have been created. Okay, ID, content, file path, title, URL, and content vector. And the vector profiles, right, is the search algorithm that has been configured as well. Semantic configurations, and we have a Search Explorer tool to help with troubleshooting, just to see the content. So if I do search for all the documents right here, so we have your count of the 20 documents, and we can see the ID, content, all that coming from the product CSV file. Now what about that content vector, right, the vectorized content field? So for here, we have to enable this to be retrievable, save. Okay, so it doesn't need to be retrievable because it doesn't make any use to the for the response. So if I go back to here, just to give you what it looks like, now we see the content vector, and really it's made up of 1,500 numbers. Okay, and so again, that embeddings model took the content text value and converted it into this numerical representation. And so when you do the search against this index, it'll take the query, say for example, find me tent for 4 people. It will convert it into numerical representation with that text embeddings model, and it'll start to compare against the content vector using the search algorithm. Okay, so I think it's called cosine similarity, and it will return a search score of that, right? So let's say me tent for 4 people. It's being searched and then provides a search score. So really that Trailmaster X4 tent, and in the content it mentions 4 occupants. Okay, it returns other tents as well, but you can see the search score to be a bit less. Okay, as well. You can take a look at that as well. There's also a JSON view of that as well. Okay, so back to this, I want to put that, save that, put it back to its original settings. Okay, so that leads us to get products document. It will query the search index. Okay, so let's just run that. See here, scripts runner. I need a new tent for 4 people. What do you recommend? Here it returns a result set, 5 documents received. Okay. So this gets returned to the chat app. The chat app will include these results as to its prompt to the GPT-4o mini language model, and basically that original query will go against this result set, right? And will formulate the appropriate answer upon this message. So I'll go into that in detail. So the key thing to note here is that it uses a prompt template called intent mapping. So this prompt template is from a kind of tool called Prompty, and you can look that up. So you can look up prompty.ai. Okay, it's a VS Code extension as well. I'll probably do a separate video on this specifically. So anyways, that's for your reference. You can check that out. This prompt, it establishes, which configuration you want to use, which model deployment, and provides some grounding through the system messages. Okay, gives some instructions on what to do, what not to do in the prompt. Gives examples, right, to help with the grounding. And then here is formulating that conversation, the query. So what that looks like in the prompt is it formulates this, right? Intent mapping. Intent, the user is looking for a recommendation for a tent that accommodate 4 people. Best tents for 4 people. So that is what's ultimately used to query the search index. So in this code right here, it gets the search query, okay, which is this portion right here, uses the embeddings model to come up with a search vector, okay, which is this numerical representation, right, all these numbers. And ultimately, this is where the search query gets executing its AI search. So it passes that search vector here and is specific to that content vector field. And then it will, the client will execute that and then return the search results. And then ultimately we'll return that as you see right here. So 5 documents retrieved right here, right? So this debugging line will return the documents. Now turning to the chat with products Python script, that will take in your query. So in my case, I have the query, I need a new tent for 4 people. What would you recommend? Okay, and then we'll call into this function right here. It calls the get products documents, which I just went over, is returned from the search index. And then now with that information, we need to create a chat prompt to the GPT-4o model. So again, uses the prompt template called grounded chat. Here we have a system message, right? And then here is the documents, again, the 5 documents retrieved in the previous run. And basically here is our our query. Okay, so we get that grounded chat prompt. We leverage the chat model right here again. That is this one right here. And we formulate our message, our prompt, which is the system message, which includes the document retrieve and our messages, okay, which contains our original prompt right here, role, user, and our content, right? So, and then we get that response, and then we return that response back to the user. Okay, so let me run the script chat with products and with the end user's query. So it's taking some time, and there we go. So this is our response. It recommends the X4 tent. It can comfortably accommodate 4 occupants. It mentions it's a great choice for your camping needs, which aligns up to it asking for a recommendation, right, along with its product description details. So there you have it. So that was the flow of the chat app and all that's required. So this is a really neat tutorial and pretty cool architecture. Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching.